All right, so he's back. Dr. Kravatsky, good morning and welcome.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you very
Very
much
good.
for having us.
All right, what is the international standards of the ISO and 37,000?
Yes. So for the first time, there is an international agreement on what good governance means. So until now, there was no universal agreed definition. And now the Trinidad and Tobago Bureau of Standards has worked together with 164 other countries to agree internationally on what good governance means. And ISO 37000 is the document that provides 11 principles about what good governance means.
Okay,
And
and
this standard has been adopted as a national standard in Trinidad and Tobago, and it is available for purchase now from the Trinidad and Tobago Bureau of Standards on their website.
what are the benefits of this standard?
The benefits are threefold. So first, it's important to understand what governance of an organization means. And it is about, there are three things that people need to do when they govern any kind of organization. They need to direct it, they need to oversee it, and they need to account for it. And so to direct means that you are defining what the value is that you're creating for others, for stakeholders, not yourself in the organization. So profit is the result of what you do, but you direct so as to create and generate value. The second element is about oversight, and that means that you are monitoring and you're ensuring that the organization actually does that which it has committed to, and it does it in a way that observes the expectations of stakeholders. And the third element is that you need to account for the organization. And that means that you are willing and able to answer questions to stakeholders about what you are producing, what you're generating, and how you are doing that, and to what extent it conforms with their expectations, not with what you would like, but with what do stakeholders expect of you. And so, therefore, if that is what governance is about, to direct, to oversee, and to account in order to achieve a defined purpose of an organization, and the purpose is the ultimate value you're generating. And again, that is not profit. Profit is the outcome of what you do. The value you generate is for stakeholders. Okay?
And
So
how does this standard aid in the fight against corruption?
well, corruption happens when you use, for example, public monies and for private purposes. But it involves fraud, it involves bribery, it involves all kind of wrongdoing. And if you are not able to oversee an organization, then it is much more likely that you will that the efforts will be misdirected and you're not generating public value, you're generating private benefits using public funds. So in order to avoid corruption, you need to have a system by which you're able to actually oversee the organization and account to stakeholders. And for the first time, you are able to now able to certify an organization against anti-bribery, that they have an anti-bribery management system in place. Until now, you were not able to do that in Trinidad and Tobago.
Interesting. And who developed this standard? And was there any national input?
Yes. So Trinidad and Tobago joined 55 other countries as a participant member in this technical committee at the international level. And that means that it developed a national mirror committee that constituted 7 stakeholder groups, so private sector, state, NGOs, civil society organizations, academia. They were all part in establishing a national consensus. And then there were experts who participated at the international level. I chaired the National Mirror Committee together with Deborah Okor-Fabry de Souza from University of the West Indies as the co-chair. And we worked together at the international level. I was the co-convener of the working group that developed the standard. And we had two other national experts who participated actively in developing of the standard and who were also editors of the standard at the international level. So Trinidad and Tobago was a very active part and partnered together with the British BSI organization to be leading this effort.
And how will this standard impact this country?
Well, at the moment, like the THA and everybody else who is regulating and who is seeking to ensure that organizations are delivering value, they now have a standard according to which they can hold the organizations to account. So they can say, this is what I mean by good governance. I would like you to apply this, and I would like you to report to me that you're actually doing it. And when it comes to corruption, they can require the organizations to certify, to have an anti-bribery system in place, to ensure that they have a whistleblowing system in place, all of which they are now according to Trinidad and Tobago national standards. So until now, Trinidad and Tobago could not say, this is what I mean, and this is our official definition of what good governance means, what anti-bribery means, what a good whistleblowing system means, or what an internal control system means. These topics were currently, until now, not defined. And now there's a possibility for any organizations to both demand as well as to demonstrate that that is actually what they're doing.
Okay, and how can stakeholders access this standard? I know you mentioned purchasing earlier on, but how can they access this standard?
Yes, so you TTBS, you Google TTBS and you come to their website, and then you can simply purchase the standards. They have, thousands of hours of work, of volunteer time to develop these internationally, including local experts input. And purchase your copy.
Mm-hmm. All right, you mentioned a whistleblower, and is there any protection by this standard that you have established here to protect the whistleblower? For example, he's anonymous and he must remain anonymous. However, the relevant information is taken and, of course, goes to the database about this particular country and their practice of corruption. Is there protection for a whistleblower?
Yes, so I work with a lot of boards in Trinidad and Tobago in developing ethics systems, and very frequently people get stuck in what should the clauses, how do we protect whistleblowers, who is responsible for what is the information flow, what should we do in response to receiving this, and it is extremely important for whistleblowers to be protected. And until now, there was not a common definition to say, this is the internationally agreed best practice for how you protect whistleblowers. And now there is. So now you have very clear guidance. This should be in the policy. This is how you receive complaints or notifications. This is how you respond to them. This is how you investigate. This is how you do all the different steps that are involved in it. And now you have the guidance for implementing it yourself. And importantly, those who need to ensure that the others have it have now a standard against which they can judge it, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Nice, and I understand, looking at the social media page, I saw that there's a deadline for persons to add their views on the draft. I think it's Friday, the 16th of December. Can you just clarify that?
Well, there are always new standards being developed. So there is, for example, a new standard now being developed on maturity levels of governance. But these standards are now published, and in 3 years' time, there will be a review period of them. But at the moment, the standard 37,000 on good governance, or governance of organization, and therefore what good governance means, on whistleblowing, which is 37,002, anti-bribery, which is 37,001, and compliance management systems, which is 37,301. These are now Trinidad and Tobago national standards, and they are in force, and they are, that is what it means in Trinidad and Tobago to govern well. There is no question now. You don't need to look up any definitions and make an essay to say, well, these people think it is this, those people think it is this. And my favorite quotation is that is how most training programs and most consultants work. That is not how it should be now, because now there is a national definition, and there should be no doubt as to what it is. And you can also access all the definitions free online. You can look at the introductions. You can look at, there are a number of materials that are freely available online. You can have PowerPoint presentations. You can have summaries. You can have question and answers. There's a lot of material available now for those that are serious about the fight against corruption.
And as you mentioned that, we could ask, is there a standard for those culpable that would be prosecuted? I'm asking that, the companies that need redress from these people, or government agencies that carry out their practice of white-collar crime. Obviously, that's what we're speaking here directly to. Is there those who are culpable? Is there punishment, and is there redress for the institutions that hire these culprits?
Yes. So one of the reasons why the anti-bribery system, for example, has been very popular around the world and has risen in the use in the last 6 years or so, is that many countries have instituted legislation against bribery and against corruption. And the sentences, when companies are found to have been involved in knowingly or unknowingly in corruption, they will be sentenced according to those laws. Now, what all those laws are always saying is that if you have a system in place, if you took reasonable precautions and you made reasonable efforts in order to prevent this to happen, you will get a lower sentencing. But you need to be able to demonstrate that. And that is why a lot of companies, because the fines are so high and the danger is so great to be caught out in corrupt activities, even if it is inadvertent, this is like a very good insurance policy that you must put this in place, because otherwise you are completely unprotected and you have nothing to show. It is unreasonable if you are exposed to the potential of corruption. It is unreasonable for you not to put reasonable measures in place. What are these reasonable measures? Well, here's the definition. You put this in place, you have a very good argument to say, this is what we mean by reasonable in Trinidad and Tobago, because this is our national standard. And it happens to be the same as the international standard. So therefore, we are working at best international practice if we implement this.
Okay, well, we got to leave it there. Dr. Kravatsky, of course, the chairman of the Trinidad and Tobago Bureau of Standards National Mirror Committee, and insightful conversation, and we hope that all goes well for the benefit.
Yeah, and of course, we'll chat again at some point in time. Thank you for being with us this morning.
Thank you.
Yes, very good.